One. Live. We're live.
Are we live yet?
Oh, we're there. Okay. We're there.
You just had issues counting down.
Well,
I was a couple of letters in between.
It's because it's because I just finished reciting all of Hamlet to you. In the space of about 20 minutes, which is pretty crazy because it's a pretty long play.
Yeah, but
I thought it was a good good way just to warm up my voice.
Right, and plus we didn't want to get copyright struck on public domain properties.
I'm sure someone owns all Shakespeare these days. Jeff Bezos or something.
What's up, dude?
What's up?
I haven't seen you since Vision X, right?
I know. Right, because
God.
Yeah, that was because we were gonna come back a little early, but we couldn't, and so we're back now.
You had claimed we were coming back early, no problem.
I like to make promises,
and I was like, Tyler, we ain't coming back.
I just like to get the excitement up, and then disappoint. It's a tactic. I think I'd call it a tactic.
Well, the old rug pull marketing, right?
Yeah. The old what was that when I was a little kid? They had that Charlie Brown show, and she kept like pulling the football out from under him. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, dude, that's awesome. Well, it's a great story.
Whatever.
The stream.
Yeah, we got.
I was gonna say,
how's it going, chat?
Well, welcome everyone. Great to see you back. We're super excited back. Yeah. So, what are you painting today? I want to pick up on I have a last conclusion to what you were just saying about the rug pull marketing, and I just want to put that pin in there just so we don't forget. But Tyler, before we get into that, what are you doing today?
I am currently wiping paint that doesn't dry very fast off of my hands because it got everywhere somehow. So I'm working on this dragon again that I left off on a while back. I forgot
about that. It's looking great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep chugging away on him. I think I'll try and get him close to just being done with it by the end of this stream. Because this is what happens when you don't plan ahead. When you just go crazy and you're just lost in the weeds on a piece. But I'm just gonna work on the sky, and then I'll probably switch up to something different next week.
Okay.
How about you? What are you working on, man?
Well, I finished that other painting that I was working on last stream. I will be posting that soon.
Excellent.
I gotta do a better job at posting the stuff we finish up on stream. Like my next post is going to be the Dracula thing. Like it's long overdue. I think you had color corrected or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll make sure I send you the right
send
file.
It to me again. Yeah, because we want people to see that and see it all in its finished glory and things like that. And just in case people want to acquire it. I don't know. And it's just cool to see stuff that was finished. So I am working on a new study. Feels like I'm working on studies all the time here, but it's just because they're small pieces and it's easy to fit in this part of my studio.
Well, it's part of your process, It's an important part of your process.
It's important. It's
friggin' important.
So I'm doing a gouache lift out like I usually do. And then I'm gonna. This got a lot of little architectural details, so I think I'm gonna spend the majority of the stream just picking this thing out.
Nice.
But what I wanted to say was, what reminds me of rug pull marketing? This might get the stream.
We're gonna get banned. We're about to get banned, everyone.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
You ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
I did, but in 1999. So
Yeah,
this is out of nowhere. What's
it's
going
like
on?
5 years ago.
Did you start
Well,
watching
no,
it?
just we talked about rug pull marketing, and I just was thinking like, yeah, Dragon Ball Z. They just kept teasing like things were gonna happen, like next episode, and nothing happened.
Dude, this was like there was another show around that time when I was in high school. It was like Gundam Wing, I think is what it was. And it was like that too. It was like there's going to be like 88 episodes in this season, but nothing's going to happen.
No, they like made a cup of coffee, you know.
Yeah,
But
or they like
you know,
showed a Gundam and then like one flew
yeah,
around and you're like, "Hell yeah, that's cool."
blew their budget on that.
Yeah,
There's like
blew
four
the
people
that
making
was
it,
it.
so
That was it. It was expensive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
look.
so we got
Hey, we got a good,
yeah,
a really awesome artist in the chat here, everybody. Mr. Stephen Russell Black. Check out his
hey
work,
man,
Stephen. Great to have you on, man. Feel free to drop your, if you feel like it, to drop your like a link to your website in the chat, so people can check out
yes,
your work.
people need to see your awesome work, man. It's if they haven't seen it already, you know.
I got an original of his on my wall. It's his headless horseman.
You, you do. It's awesome.
It's amazing. So it's up in my well, you can't see with the camera, but it's up in here in my studio.
Now Steven's gonna think it's you're lying. You don't have it right there, right? There you go.
Yeah. Well, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So
That,
so oh. Oh, thank you, Krizikon. Thank you. Apparently my little dragon's looking badass. Fantastic.
well, it is. Yeah, man. I said that. You said nothing.
Well,
That's fine.
yeah, coming from you,
Krizikon,
but coming from
Krizikon says
Krizikon,
it's like
that's a big deal.
yeah, it's a big deal. Sweet. Yeah. Everyone click on that link. It's for Steven's website. It's awesome. Dude, it's so great to have like artists like pop in like this. I love this. That's
Yeah,
some of
I
my
know.
favorite part. Like us chilling is cool, and I love hanging out and with the chat and stuff. And then like the other thing I really like is like when artists just like fellow artists that we admire, just pop in and be like, what,
Yeah, it's kind of like because our whole point in starting this was to like reproduce the feeling of when we're in our studio,
Yeah,
and having it in this format though, it's like famous artists can pop in and say hello,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty rare and pretty awesome.
yeah. It's pretty sweet. It's
You know,
pretty
as
sweet.
as we grow this Livebrush and our amazing fans continue to follow with us, I hope you can all look forward to more awesome artists popping in and out.
Yeah, yeah. You won't be disappointed. We haven't been disappointed yet.
Oh, don't worry, Steven. You're not obligated to participate in the chat. You're just you are obligated to listen to our bullshit though. And now let's talk about shitty movies.
I know. Yeah. So, dude, I decided in between break, like when we were in between 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? I really were we talking about like video games or something like that, and how I'm just like I'm making up for lost time because
Yeah, yeah.
I have, so they had a summer or like a Steam sale. Oh my god,
Oh, what'd you
so
end up
many
getting,
good
dude?
games for dude, like fighting games, and I mean like Mortal Kombat. I haven't had a Mortal Kombat since forever, and
So
it's just like
no sleep for Ray because he's gonna be playing
no,
Mortal
dude,
Kombat.
I don't know what I was thinking because I played it I played it for an hour and I'm like I gotta go to sleep. I have I got things to do in the morning. Like I'll never be good at these games.
This is a huge problem I have too because I have them on Steam as well, which means they're on my computer, and I do a lot of my work on my computer. So it's like a click away.
Yeah,
It's this horrible willpower test that I've set myself up
dude,
for that I fail a lot.
dude, it's crazy. Like I mean, yeah, it's pretty. It's a horrible test. And I got like Battlefield. Like
Oh man, did you get Battlefield 1?
yes, I did.
That is such a good game. It's so much
I mean,
fun.
I had to double check to see like when it was made because I was shocked that it wasn't made. Like I knew that 2042 was out and BF5 was after that.
Yeah,
Before
yeah.
that, then the Battlefield 1 came. But I was like, why this looks incredible.
I used to
You
play it
know,
with my brother a bunch.
dude,
We used to
it's
just,
so.
yeah, the like
Go ahead.
multiplayer function of it, like where these huge battles. If you like shooty bang bang games, it's
Yeah,
the best.
yeah. That's. I was all in on that. So I've been playing a lot of BF5, but I did play a good like a fair bit about. I'm gonna jump in like BF1. It's
Nice.
just now I have like, oh my god, what do I do? You know. Uh,
You fight. That's what you do.
well, no, just in terms of games, you know, because then I also got like BF Battlefield 4, which is like highly regarded. Um, it was like super cheap.
Dude,
That's the thing with all these games, like you know, since the new one's out. But the cool thing about the
yeah,
new
yeah,
one is that it's not as highly regarded. People don't like it because it's got all these issues. So people are just playing the old ones. So the servers are still active.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
will unashamedly admit I still play a game that came out while we were in art school
What?
From Bohemia. It's called DayZ. It used to be a mod of Arma 3. Now it's
The
just a
da-
standalone. I still play that
da-
game like every day.
oh, so that's the DayZ that okay. So it is the original DayZ.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I guess on a technicality, like the original was a mod of
Okay, there
Arma,
you go.
but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's DayZ. Yeah, I still play
So
that
you know,
all the time.
are you gonna correct me on Counter Strike if I say I played Counter Strike? It's like, well, which Counter Strike do you play, man? You play the original Half Life
No,
one
I've never played. I don't even think I
or the
played a Counter
standalone?
Strike.
I played it in college for like 2 seconds, and then I was like, I gotta do work. And then there was actually a kid in
No
school.
one in college has ever said that.
Yeah, I
No,
did.
no college student in the history of college students has
Dude,
ever
I'm
said
telling you,
those
I was like,
words.
I really should do work. I gotta do work. I gotta do work. I can't be doing this.
I definitely felt
Uh,
that way in graduate school, but man, in undergrad, there was never a day where like, man, I got to do some work. Never happened.
yeah. Well, I mean, oh god, you know,
You
it's
were a
like,
responsible college student. It sounds like.
well,
I wouldn't
I
say that.
guess I don't know. I don't know. Oh man, it was my first time studying art too. I was like, I gotta do this. You know.
Well, no offense to my university or anything, but undergrad art education was not great. There were some great
No, yeah.
standout. There were some great standout instructors, like some ones that were just fantastic. But like, I wasn't learning anything, and the art history was same old, same old.
Yeah.
Classic. Like, read about all this pop art stuff and like modern art movements and it was like I wanted to learn about like Frank Frazetta and um you know people that I like. I wanted to learn about Drew Struzan and the Golden Age illustrators and stuff, but those weren't even mentioned in those art history classes. It's a real
No,
shame.
they weren't. They weren't.
It's like
No.
Norman Rockwell was like a footnote.
If that, I mean, they never mentioned Norman Rockwell in my art history class. The only
I
time I heard it, I fell in love with. I mean, like I really learned art that I really liked and discovered a lot of stuff was in illustration class.
Yeah,
And that was just because I was turned on to all this stuff. Like I had no idea that this
dude.
existed.
I think Rockwell came up in like Americana stuff in my art history classes,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
like a completely wrong place to put him. I would say, but it was like, yeah, they're talking about Americana stuff, and kind of like those paintings that are in the Coit Tower in San Francisco, that big murals of
Dude,
steam.
wait, I don't mean to cut you off, but David Peterson just rated us for the party of 39.
Oh, dang,
And then
David, good to see you again, man.
he's like, bam, 39 people, we rating you, and I gotta go. Peace. David,
Good. Thanks
you're
for
the
coming in,
goat.
bud.
You're a hero, man. You're the goat.
Yeah,
Uh,
everybody. David comes in every once in a while, but if you're not familiar, check out his work. He's
Dude,
amazing.
yes. Check out the stream. Check out the stream. It's usually before our stream.
Right.
I know that, but yeah, the guard prevail, man. Food awaits.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mouse guard. Do it.
I know. Yeah, everyone buy a copy of Mouse Guard, any of them, right now.
Especially if you're going to a con, David's probably going to be there. So
Yeah,
go by his table, and he's going to have probably some sweet special stuff. It's going to be awesome. Check it out. I don't want to make promises for him. It's going to be
I think
this is going to be some of the best special edition things you've ever seen.
every con he's like giving away a Lamborghini. It is
Yeah,
nuts.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
You would not
it's
expect it.
crazy.
I got a Lamborghini one time from him though. It was pretty cool.
It's like, all of a sudden, like the guard will. Can you like unraid? You've been unraided.
Yeah.
By
Everyone
David
vanished.
Peterson. Yeah, everyone vanished. All right, so we got a couple of questions on the chat. Man, of the scroll. Let me zoom back on this the chat here.
All right, I got a bunch up there. I got it, man. I could see it.
You got it. Okay, I'm like reaching.
We got from my buddy Noah, Wolvie Chops. I just gave away your secret identity. Questions regarding studies. You guys both work from reference for light form, posing, architecture, etc. But when it comes to the actual study processes, what are you actually looking to explore / find as opposed to just starting the painting in earnest? I think it's mostly, at least for Ray and I's approach to studies, it's about design. Like that's mostly what we're looking for. We have an idea of what we think it should be, and we're putting the pieces into place to see if it actually looks good. That's how my studies work. I do a lot of like my magic cards is like really small little thumbnails digitally, because the main thing I'm looking for is if it reads at 2 inches. And if most paintings should read really well at that size anyways. So Ray's got really big paintings, but they should read really nicely at 2 inches as well.
Yeah, if they don't, then something's wrong with the painting. Fundamentally,
just destroy it.
At least for me. Yeah, or yeah, well, it makes me want to put a fist through it. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I concur. Yeah, and I do my studies for, like, I think it's all about design for us. And we just run into, especially when you're doing like illustration stuff. I know you really need to visualize it, have some form of it visualized, and it's otherwise it's like you can't just go in and hope for the best. I would love to just, okay, there's my idea, boom, done. But you have to kind of see what it looks like when you visualize.
Yeah, there's so much design that has to go in that can go wrong. That's why you have to test it out. You just got to test it.
Yeah.
And I don't do as much as a lot of artists, but I know like Jesper Eising, my friend, and he's an awesome fantasy illustrator.
Dude, yeah.
He does like 5 or 6 color studies. He just prints out his sketch and just paints over them. I don't do that. Ray does a lot more color studies work than I do. I just do like quick stuff and digitally to see what the colors look like. But now that I'm doing more and more original pieces, like in oils, I think I want to start doing them like you do, Ray, because that way I can get my brain, like wrap my brain around mixing.
Right.
I keep running into this stumble. I think we've talked about it on the stream before. I keep running into this like stumbling block of, I've done a cool like color sketch digitally, but I can't like wrap my head around how I can even mix those colors, because I have millions of colors available to me in Photoshop, and I'm usually good about sticking to like tight color envelopes, but I'll still with the digital piece, it's it's on screen, so the colors are crazy, and I'll still run into issues where it's like, I can't really get the same color. So I want to do more color sketches in acrylic or oil or whatever, just to get like a feel for the colors that I need to mix and how I can get to those colors really quickly.
Yeah, and you'll develop a muscle memory doing it. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that one. That was a little bit more yellow ochre than I thought, or like a little bit more titanium white,
Yeah.
or that's definitely not. You don't want to add red to this thing, even though it does look kind of red. Uh,
Right. There's so much of that relativistic color that I'm like that I'll end up stumbling with because it's like I can figure it out quickly digitally, no problem. Like
right.
I've been working on that for over a decade, but my muscle memory for mixing colors accurately in oils is whew, it's long gone.
Yeah, that's tricky too. And also with oils, is you got to kind of plan it too. Like it's not one of those like you trying something and then like I know some painters that try something and then put the painting away until they know what to do, until they figure out what to do with the painting afterwards. But like some paintings take like years to do, and it's just like that's not a realistic timeline for illustration one, or even like my gallery schedule.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's an
like
interesting. Yeah, that doesn't work for illustration at all.
no, no, it's a nice sentiment. It's like wow, but I have to like solve the problem now, not later, or not when I can kind of figure it out. I mean, there is a painting like I have upstairs that like I haven't painted on in about a year, but and I'm just trying to, I got to work out another comp on it. I just haven't had the time to do it. But yeah, I mean, but I had a painting, I had to replace it with another painting. I just couldn't leave it. Uh,
Right, right. Yeah, it's like it failed, but it means like okay, now I got to hustle on a different one to replace that.
yeah, yeah, that's basically what it was. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I would love the luxury of just like I'm just gonna chill out with this piece and let it hang. Um, but who the hell has the time for that? I don't know. Doesn't work in our industries.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's, what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, and also, I don't know. You and I are similar in that I just want to see the piece done.
Yeah, I get impatient.
I don't want the damn thing laying around anymore. And I think maybe that's a product of our training because there's always just other pieces that I could do
Right.
that are better.
Or more interesting. I don't know. I get like I'm like, this isn't interesting anymore. I want to move on to something else.
Yeah. And yeah, I just don't want I want to also have fun doing it. And it all depends on like, I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, like everyone's built kind of differently too. Like I've been thinking a lot about like, processing, going back and forth on things and like how I want things to look. And it's something, which is going to be wrestling, I figure, my entire career. But I've been on a big kick lately. Like at first, I was like, I want more freshness in my work, but I also want fidelity in my work
Mm-hmm.
to increase. Like I yearn for that because I enjoy painting form. Um,
Well, it's such a fine line, right? To get the fidelity that
yeah,
you
dude.
want, but then to overwork it essentially.
Right. Yeah.
We got a first time viewer, Gijo Terror too. They're asking me what my what pieces I have in the latest Dominaria set. Unfortunately, I can't reveal that, but what I can reveal is that I don't have any pieces in that set. I was working on a really big piece for Magic while that set was being commissioned, and I couldn't do anything for that particular set. But I did work heavily on the original. Well, I guess you wouldn't call it the original, but the comeback of Dominaria.
Yeah, that's what the your book has, right? All the concept art and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I did because I was the lead concept artist when we went back to Dominaria. So I was working with Mark Winters, and we we did a lot of stuff, trying to reskin the old. Dominaria was like the original Magic setting, but it was semi vague back then. So we were tasked with really giving it a lot more life and clarity. I did a ton of work on that.
That's got to be exciting though. Like that all the, for it's that all the old Dominaria stuff is coming back. It's kind of, because I've seen the new ones that came out, like Dominaria United, right? That's the new one.
That's the newest one. Yeah, I think that's the one that
Yeah.
uh, Gijo Terrors is referencing. That yeah,
Got it.
the newest Dominaria that we've returned to again. But it is Chrysikon, you're right. It is going to be awesome for sure. I'm just bummed that I didn't get to work on it because I love that setting. It's super cool. But sometimes it happens. Anyways, what were we talking about? Who
Uh,
knows?
I don't know. I was talking about fidelity and
Yeah,
freshness.
yeah, for sure. That is the it's such a hard thing to maintain. Like when you want to have a lot of detail, but to keep it from getting like crazy busy and overworked.
Yeah, I don't know anymore.
Well, what does anyone know? Let's
What
see
does
if we got.
anyone
Let's.
know?
I'm going to check the chat. See if we got any. If we got any cool questions. Um. Oh yeah. Lord Adornable. Caravaggio's little crimes. Yes. I didn't learn about them in school, but I learned about them from a pretty cool documentary about Caravaggio. But that guy was.
Is it Power of Art? You talking about the Power of
Yeah, the
Art?
power of art.
Dude, Simon Sharma.
That guy's
Oh my
cool.
god.
He's very cool. But I also like. I get a little eye rolly with his like
His
absolute
prose.
or is like I know exactly what the artist was meaning to do here, and it's like no you
Yeah,
don't.
I know. Well, it's all dramatic effect.
Yeah. But man, yeah, the
That's what's
power of art, the Caravaggio one, and he did a Van Gogh one too, didn't he?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, check those out, they're great.
Yeah, they're incredible. And freaking Bernini.
Yes, that's right, the Bernini one.
And David.
Yeah, yeah, that was right. I remember seeing that the Bernini one specifically and being like, this dude was superhuman.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way he was able to do all those pieces. And it turns out he didn't.
He did? Or he didn't?
No, he
He
didn't.
did.
He had like a he had like a basically like the Bernini school. So he had a lot of people that
Oh,
sculptors that could
yeah.
work in
Yeah.
his specific style.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like he was like an architectural firm. Like those were his designs, and he might have had a rough maquette or something. Like, here's what I want.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah. But
Yeah,
that
it's
point,
like it's like a design school essentially. Like you
or
want
like Stan Winston Studios, basically, right? It's like Stan
exactly.
Winston's not like
100%. And they're making stuff for the church, right? So
Yeah, totally.
it's like, oh, these guys are a brand, and the church wants the church wants that look. Like, and they got that look, and there's no way. Like, if you've been to the Vatican, anybody in the chat has been to the Vatican, the four corners of St. Peter's are giant Bernini sculptures, but there's no way he did them all by himself.
No, I mean, I'm sure he designed them, and
Yeah,
then the
no, I'm sure he
installation.
designed
No,
them,
no,
but like the physical labor, I guess what I'm talking about.
no, hell no. Are you crazy?
Not that I'm not trying to take away from Bernini because he's amazing, but
Yeah, but like,
it's
but I mean,
a very
how I think
fascinating view into
I
the
know, but it's just also it's just I was talking a lot about this at Vision X, which we didn't even talk about Vision X yet. But Tyler and I went to we were up did a special episode of Livebrush over at the Vision X conference, which was a lot of fun
yeah,
two
it was
weekends
great.
ago. But I did my I did Livebrush on a Friday, and then I did my own thing, like a solo thing on a Sunday. And we were talking about, it might have been then that we were talking about the just process and going about things and how artists kind of thing because there were all these incredible. Oh man, so everyone was so good.
The
Each
lineup
and every
was crazy.
This is nuts. It was nuts. But to hear them all talk about their process and like none of this stuff, you walk away like you realize like, oh, none of this stuff was, happenstance. Like everything is like thought out, well thought out. You have really intelligent people. And I was thinking like, the artists that, aren't forthcoming with it, that's cool. But I find that like it's a I think it's just as much as an artistic invention and a PR invention as it is people not understanding how art is made. Uh, you know, uh, that is to blame for people thinking artists created like Bernini chiseled away and actually built something in St. Peter's Basilica. Like he built everything by hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was just him. You know,
Yeah, the
the
idea
same
that
thing
he's
for Rubens.
like a mad genius, just like going like crazy and making this huge, complicated sculpture that would require tons of planning.
It's just
It's not sexy for like movies to show
right,
art being made that way.
right. And I blame art. I think artists are just as responsible for it because if somebody asks you, like, I mean, I'll here's my point. If someone's asking you how long did it take, was that wow, that's so cool. You come up to you and you're like, wow, it's so great. How long did that take? And it's way more impressive to be like, it wasn't that bad. It was like I thought about it, and I had to all vague and making it sound like it was easy. It's way more impressive to do that than to say like, actually, this drove me to the brink of madness,
Yeah, yeah.
and beyond. Like no one wants to hear that. So
They don't like when you
um,
say. Oh, I've had this. You probably had it happen to you too, where you actually say, "Oh, well, that took me like 80 hours," and
yeah,
they'll be like, "Whoa, what?" Like all of a sudden, like
yeah,
the mystique of it's gone. It's like, oh wait, so you worked really hard and long on this? It's like, yeah, like,
yeah.
like of course. I mean, do you think it just came out of nowhere? I know I've worked really hard and long on it. That's how it
Well,
came into existence.
I was talking to someone the other day who was like, wanting to get into painting as they retired and stuff, and it's like I like to paint. I'm picking up painting now. I took a couple of art classes in school, but back when I was young, and now after all my kids are I'm getting ready to retire. My kids are out of the house. I want to get back into painting. It's nothing like what you do, and I'm thinking to myself like, stop talking. I interrupted them. I was like, stop talking down
Yeah,
to what you do.
yeah.
Like
You're already setting yourself up for
eh,
failure if that's your
you're
attitude.
not. It's like, what's your expectation to be in the Met, or just to have fun? Like it's okay. It's like music. Like you learning. If I told you you were learning a guitar, I just wouldn't assume. If you told me you were learning guitar, I wouldn't assume that you were trying to, you know, uh, I don't know, headline Coachella or something like that.
Yeah,
That's your aspiration in a couple of years. Like, so, uh, you know, it's all of that stuff kind of like factors into that. Like,
and that's a good
um,
analogy because you never hear that like with guitar, where someone's like, "Yeah, I'm picking up guitar," and I'm just doing some like I'm just fucking riffing on some Jimmy Page stuff, man. That's all I'm doing. It's just like no, they're like I'm learning, but they
I'm
for
learning.
art it's always like, oh, it's nothing like what you do. It's like, well, like
Yeah,
you don't have
or
to
like,
jump
yeah,
to be an amazing artist right away.
or just just like thinking like they're embarrassed to tell me that they do paint and sips and stuff, and I'm
Right.
like, I'm a huge fan of paint and sips.
Same.
Huge,
We call it
huge.
drinking draws. Yeah, I love them.
Drink and draws. Well, drink and draws, yeah, with the art with artists, you got like a model and everything like that. But the paint and sips are the ones where like somebody has a painting and you're copying how they paint.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah,
copying their
yeah.
painting, right? And you're drinking wine, right? Now, why am I a fan of that?
Tell
Well,
me.
because like I remember somebody saying like, well, it's not real art, and like all this garbage, and I'm thinking, no, 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 no. The reason why I'm a fan of it is because everyone that I've met that's done that has come back to me, if they know me, or I just meet and they know I'm an artist, I'm a painter, and they've all said like, I can't believe how hard it is to do what you do.
Yeah.
Like they understand how much skill or how much training you need in order to execute something, at a high level. That's another reason why I love that, because it brings value to what I do. So, um, if you do paint and sips, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's not as easy. It's way harder than it looks, right? To copy
Absolutely.
something
Yeah.
like a silly wine glass in the sunset. Like, it's a simple painting, but if this is the first time or you haven't picked up a paintbrush in forever, I mean, like it's gonna be super difficult. Um,
Well, yeah, and if you
so
don't know,
that's
if you
my
don't have the
philosophy.
foundations and anything, right? It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you are
yeah. So
jumping into the deep end, copying someone's work.
yeah, right,
It's
right,
hard, man.
right. That's hard. That's hard. It's not easy.
But
All right,
like
so
I guess my point there is like, do it. It's do it. It's really fun stuff. Don't just because it's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a chance.
right, so we got two questions. The first one's to you. Question for Tyler: Did you take concept art courses? Take concept art courses at any point, and if not, how did you start doing concept art professionally?
I did not. We did not really have at the time. I think we had a creature design class that I didn't take because I couldn't get into it because it was very popular.
Yeah, well, so it
Um,
was taught by one of the
a
greatest
legend,
creature
yeah,
designers ever,
yeah. It was taught by
ever.
a legend, Tara Whitlatch,
Tara Whitlash. Yeah,
and
it's
so
like
yeah, I couldn't get into it. But yeah, I just kind of fell into it. We had a interesting setup with Wizards of the Coast for Magic stuff, where Jeremy Jarvis Wood, he was the lead art director at the time. He would put together groups of artists that from the Magic artist pool that he thought would be able to create some new imagery that would be good in like in a sprint format. So the sprint we call them a push, but we would come in and for 3 weeks it'd be about 5 artists that Jeremy would like sort of grab from mostly the artist pool, and he would just go on gut instinct, like maybe this artist will be good for this kind of work, and it was kind of a chance really on him. So he took a chance on me for one of these events for a concept push that was specifically for a set called Tarkir, which was like a sort of the a set that was kind of based on mostly like the Mongols, but it was more all encompassing of like the continent of Asia in sort of like the medieval period essentially. So we had like Persian influences and Mongolian influences, and then we threw dragons in the mix, and there was a lot of cool stuff in that set. So that was the first one I came in on, and that's the first time I ever did concept art. I'd never done it before, so it was kind of a crash course, but it was super fun. 3 weeks, and it was exhausting as you're just banging on all cylinders for 3 weeks. And I did well enough, that Jeremy brought me back a ton of times, and I've been doing concept work for Magic ever since. I haven't done it in a little bit, mostly because of like COVID stuff, and we can't have all the artists in the same room at the same time anymore. So it's a little different these days. But yeah, that was, I mean, that's like the short of it or the long of it.
it's relatively new in like educational institutions, right? I mean,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, versus like illustration,
Yeah, it's like a new thing people are figuring out, but it's also like
it's
regular
been around
cons.
forever.
It's been
Yeah,
around forever, right? But it's now become like a school, a system for big movies and video games, and it's most
right,
of it is now done by studios. It used to be like if in the let's say like Star Wars, they hired a few artists to come work on that. Now it would be a studio, and they'd have tons and tons of staff artists working, just pumping out visual development stuff. That's how they do it
Right.
now. And so now that's why it's become such a big educational thing, is because now it's a system and they need to train people to, start at these, like Industrial Light and Magic or Weta Workshop, to start at these places and know the system. It's far less like Wild West like it used to be.
I think it's a great answer.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Finally some recognition.
second, second question's for me. The first time chat from viewer Catfight. Welcome, 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 welcome. Ray, are you removing paint? Yes, I was. I'm doing a thing called a gouache lift out. Basically, I established gouache, wash of it. It's like opaque watercolor, basically, and let it dry, and you can actually lift it out. Um, if the surface that you're painting on it is like sealed with like matte medium or gesso or something like that, and you could, if you are delicate enough, you could create a bunch of value transitions, and that's what I use it to create a quick establishment of my light and shadow shapes.
Yeah, it's a great way to get
Sometimes
like
it's a
instant
good way to do
modeling,
it.
basically.
Yeah, yeah, really quick way, and I'm doing it here because it's got a lot of architectural, a lot of straight lines, and so it lends itself to that really nicely. And there are artists that have like Bernie Fuchs, David Grove, I mean, bunch of artists, that use that, just use a wash as their almost their finish. Um, yeah, but it's just basically a hack of how they make gouache look like, replicate kind of a process you would do in oils. And so, because in oil paint, this is super common. Just wash it with a dark color and use a rag or Q-tip or a brush to lift it out so you can create valley transitions. It's called oh my god, a wipeout or a lift out,
I liked
depending
it.
on the transparent one.
We did it in school. I never did it past that, but I really enjoyed the one that Bill showed us with the kneaded
Yeah, that was a
eraser.
hack. Yeah,
That
that was
was
another
fun, man.
hack. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mark English's technique. Um,
That's right. That's right.
yeah, that was great. That
It
was a
was
lot of
just
fun.
it was such a huge eye opener for me because I was like, oh my gosh, like you can really do, like you can instantly get, that chiaroscuro look with very little effort. Like
Yeah,
it was just
yeah,
right away.
yeah. Goes to show you like kind of what reads. And that's something like I talk about a lot with my students in my smart school class, which actually is sign up is now for it. Actually, I just
Oh yeah, man.
posted about it.
Sign up, folks. Like this is going to be amazing if you can get into Ray's class. You're going to learn so much.
Yeah, it's
He's got to
it's
hold some of the secrets back, dude. Hold some of the secrets back.
it's all some of the
Don't
secrets.
say everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh god, we used to just joke about that all the time. And we realize it's like no secrets. It's just like, oh, I just got to do this a lot. But we talk about the what actually you know needs to visually, what you need to actually visually represent to get the feeling of reality. Like you don't need much. Uh, if you break it down into like fundamental principles, um, you can actually get the illusion of form of light across pretty quickly. Um, and how far you want to push that is up to you. And I think we learned that in school. You know,
Yeah, yeah. And
in
it
grad school quite a bit.
was a lot of, I don't even know how to boil it down, but yeah, it was a lot of, I wouldn't even call it tricks. It's just techniques that really showed you how to see, you know.
Well, it was a principle, right? And then a technique that executed that principle, that
Yeah,
allowed to give you the tools necessary to visualize it, to put it
yeah.
into action. And I think that's the trick. It's like, why are we doing this? Instead, I'm sure, I don't mean to speak for you, Tyler, but I'm sure when you were in undergrad and stuff, because you came across a technique, it was like you were reading it at face value. It's like, okay, I don't know. I heard that people kind of do X, Y, and Z, so let me just try that. I guess that might work. I don't know.
Yeah.
People use burn umber or something. Okay, maybe I should get that. Or
Hmm.
people put a wash or something. Well, okay, maybe I should do that. And not understand why you're doing it. You just hoping to got something, you know, something positive comes out of it. It does look like crap, and it's really, in my opinion, a really inefficient way of learning about art, because then it's about the technique, and it really isn't.
Yeah.
People, you put so much weight in it, and that's so. It just reminded me that, I mean, like, I spent a lot of that mentorship in Smart School talking about that a lot, a lot.
For me, the why is so important. Like, that's how I
Oh
learn
God,
how
yeah.
things work. Just the, like, paint it like this and that's what you get. And it never works for me. And we had a lot of good teachers, I guess, in school that they really focused on, like, the why. Like, why are you operating this way? What are you going to get? What's
Right.
your goal to get out of it? Why does acrylic do this and why does oil do this? Why would you paint with this particular color? Like, what does it get you? All of that stuff came in massive handy for me.
Oh, totally. And the great thing for us, at least for me, was like, why is this artist doing this? Why they pick blue?
Yeah,
And it wasn't like, oh, the artist's intent. It's just, no, it's just super easy mechanical things. It's
yeah.
like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It was such an eye opener. The whole, like, oh, the artist is just feeling it. It's their, and what's their intent? Oh, it was like, no, this is actually, like,
Yeah.
there's a choice here because this is
It's
mechanical.
just,
It's not.
it's cool light. Yeah, it's cool light, warm shadows. That's really literally it. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
so that's why it looks cool.
exactly. That, man, that just
Yeah.
fills in everything. It's like, oh, you understand, like, light, shadow, temperature, all these things, like, come together to make everything make sense as to why someone chose anything.
Well, deconstructing, right? It's like deconstructing all of that stuff. Dude, it's crazy, like, to see other people go through it in that class, um, because you're on the other side of it. It's so weird to be on the other side of it, because you're like, you see the light bulb when it goes off. It's like, oh my God, because I look, I show all these artists. I'm like, listen, if you break it down like this is how they're doing it. You know,
Yeah.
like somebody like Rembrandt, why did they take all these steps? Um, it's like, you could literally just do that. That's fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they were like, oh, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
they're just a regular. They had this moment, like, that we had, like, it was like, oh, they're just a regular person. They're just doing something that makes sense. Oh,
And when you do
okay.
that, like, when it's like, if you just do it this way, you're going to do what Rembrandt did, and it's going to look like a Rembrandt. And they're just like, whoa, like that mind blowing step of, like, oh my gosh, he is just a person
Right.
that painted paintings, and I can reach that if I use the same tools.
Well, and the technique wasn't like, it's not much of anything though. Like,
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing about it. It's like, it was the same thing we were talking about with, projection equipment and things like that.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
just like, oh, it's just a tool. It's like, I don't draw as well as Drew Struzan, but I got the same stuff he has. I probably have better equipment than he does. So
Right.
obviously, obviously, it's like, okay, so I have to apply myself for a very long, across a long period of time, and study specific aspects of, like, picture making, in order for me to even think about getting to that level.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So the painters, somebody asked me one time, it's like, oh, but doesn't that, like, bum me out that that make your favorite painters not feel as, like, magical as they do? It's like, no, actually, it's the opposite. They are better.
Yeah. No,
They always
yeah.
look like they're better, because I know how they did it. I have a good
Uh,
idea how they painted it, but, like, I'm like, how do you master that much? Like, how does that come out of a person?
no, yeah, I
That's the
totally
thing.
agree. And it makes it accessible, first of all. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe people like things to be, like, magical and mystical and inaccessible, but I don't. I like to understand how things work. So if I can access how Caravaggio made his paintings, I mean, that makes him so much more interesting to me, so much more human, so much more creative. There's just a million other things. Like, I don't want it to be like this crazy mystery.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Wait. Full stop.
All right, here we go.
Full stop. Lord Adorable just brought up that we forgot to howl when we mentioned Bill.
Oh.
Well, that's all for us this week.
Yeah, we're out.
We're done.
I appreciate you
Hang it
catching
up.
that, though.
Thank you for catching that, Lord Adorable. Yes. The lone wolf, Bill Mon. Oh.
Very laxed in our. I'm still. I gotta get that little the little deck thing going.
Dude, you got to get it going, man.
I know.
We had special effects and everything like that.
The days our budget went down, That's what happens when you get budget cuts.
I was gonna say Star Trek, so I could do a Star Trek movie joke, but I'm not gonna do it.
Motion picture? You can do it. It's okay.
Dude, I'm not
It's a
gonna
safe
do
place,
it. No. Like by the time they got to like Star Trek 5, they were using like old like Star Trek 3 uniforms apparently, or Star Trek 2
Oh,
or
for
something
sure.
like that.
Yeah, they didn't like change the uniforms.
Yeah, and they were so messed up that they would only photograph well from certain angles, because if you like it's from a spin right, and you see a gigantic hole or
Yeah.
It's oh god.
They did that in I think we talked about this. We've talked about this a few times, but they did that in Star Trek 6. They used they did this great shot of like destroying a Klingon bird of prey and it all like blown up and everything.
Yeah.
But they used the exact shot again in Star Trek Generations, like right after that.
I thought
Identical shot.
I thought it was TNG that had the identical shot. Oh, now I gotta go back and watch it.
Well, Generations was the TNG movie.
I know, but TNG. I thought it was TNG, like regular TNG show episode.
No, it was the movie. They used
my
the shot.
God.
It was when like Lursa and B'Etor they're on the other ship.
Yeah.
And we see and spoilers, everyone. But we see the end of those characters from Deep Space Nine, which are really cool. And they were in TNG as well, but they were in Deep Space Nine a bunch.
So great. So great. All right, so I got all right. Hey, Alec Hamilton, great to see you, man. Thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate that. Rye Farrell, hello. I have a question mostly for Ray. Hey, all right. Your paintings have strongly chromatic light and color. Do you see the world that way? Are you amping the color based on what you know? It's more about kind of how I remember a piece, because I'm photographing it. I do a lot of it based off of reference, but the colors are never right, the values are never right, and I am basing it off of what I remember. So what I remember is like something bathed in light like that. That's why I'm amping the colors up. So I design everything else up in, Photoshop for it. Just go through a design process. And that's where all the studies come from and things like that. It's just kind of searching for that memory of what it felt like to see it, what something feels like, what you remember, and what you actually see it, are two completely different things. Because you can go back and take a look at the same building, and you're not going to feel the same thing that you were feeling at the time that you had seen it. It's going to look completely different. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, man. It actually kind of reminds me of, I can't remember the artist's name, but at one point we went with Bill. We went with Bill to a museum. I think it was the De Young.
De Young. Yeah.
And he was showing us this awesome landscape artist. You probably remember his name. But he would just go out into the wilderness and do sketches, like pencil drawings of these super detailed landscapes. And I guess he would write down color notes. And then he'd come back and paint these nuts paintings. This is all before photography. Like, he's doing it from memory, like Ray's saying, to get that, to like remember that impact of that space. Do you remember that guy's name?
I know Turner did that.
Yeah, I don't think these were Turner pieces though.
Like Birchfield, Charles Birchfield did that, but he wasn't a painter that Bill would have picked up, pointed out. Edgar Payne
Maybe it was
is
Edgar
another one.
Payne. Might have been
But there
Edgar
were
Payne.
photographs around his time, though. There were photographs like,
But not like
you
color
know,
photos, right?
no, you couldn't. Yeah, no, he was like a turn of century, so like you would have to hike in the. He was hiking in the Sierras, with like
Yeah.
small sketches and yeah, kind of assembling
Crazy.
things and all that stuff. You know what? Like landscape painters, like like that, they're pretty much. It's it's something that Vision X actually really cemented. They're like the closest thing to concept artists.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that and multi-figured narrative painters. But like there are very few of those multi-figured narrative painters these days. Most of them are illustrators. But like Kardovsky or like Adam Miller, um, I'd say like Zoe Frank as
Yeah.
well. But like actual narratives, like really kind of like old school kind of like allegorical paintings.
Yeah, I see
Um,
so much of that in those artists like Dave Dibble. Like his
yeah,
landscape paintings, it's like, oh, okay. He's doing a lot of what is done in visual development.
dude, it's so like, and like when you hear like Edgar Payne, like or how like Scott Christensen, who's incredible landscape
Yes.
painter.
Scott's awesome.
He had a talk about his keynote at Vision X was designing with intent. It was so good. It was
Right.
like,
There you
but
go,
all
man.
of that was like concepting it out. Like
Yeah.
it was like, here's an idea that I have. I gotta concept it out, and it's just amazing. So that's exactly what like Edgar Payne and those people were doing. So they're not real. It's not like an actual. You can line up a camera to get sort of kind of close with it, but you'll never get something like exactly. If that makes sense.
Well, I think that's like this is the thing that I used to trip me up so much when it comes to that kind of like landscape painting is in my head I'm like I see the painting I'm like how the hell did they find this place and take this amazing photograph and we're able to paint this painting off of this photograph and the you know pulling the curtain back on it's like they didn't they went to a location and got a photo of a thing but then they went and they actually had intent on designing it like they went and sat down and figured out like all right what colors will I use here this isn't exactly what was there I'm going to change this I'm going to change that all of that was such a like mind-boggling like eye-opener to me
Yeah.
to like realize like oh okay there's a lot of intent and design going here it's not like they found that perfect moment they're making the moment like you're engineering
They're
it and maybe
making them.
that's the lesson to young artists that are maybe in the chat listening or something is you got to make the painting a photo's a photo you can go photograph anything and I'm not like demeaning the skill that it is to take a really amazing photograph that's a whole different school of thinking I guess I mean it's fairly similar but to painting is you can just take a photograph sure but to make an amazing painting that's the reward in itself essentially
Dude, yeah. I mean, the amount of design work. Just I remember designing this thing, this just in Photoshop and all the things that I did to pull values together and pinch them in. Like a lot of people do that in sketches, physical sketches and things like that. But I got to see it in my reference. So I want the reference to be as close to my vision as possible because I would just want to have fun painting the thing.
right
And there's just every so often I'll turn off like all the layers to see what the original layer is, and I'm like, what the hell is that thing?
yeah
It's
and it
like,
looks
what?
weird right yeah it's like
That
staring
looks
at a
awful.
wall like staring at a wall for too long and then you like look at or like staring at a painting for too long and then you look at the wall and you see like the negative version of it in your retina
Yeah,
it's like going
yeah,
blind to a piece essentially
yeah, yeah. It's pretty wild, and just to see how like foreign it feels, it's just like that's not my piece at all. Um, I keep I do that to kind of remind myself, like, hey, a lot of work. You did a lot of work before getting up to this point,
yeah
because I don't necessarily work on a piece from beginning to end straight through. I'll do a bunch of comps and then I'll leave it alone for a while. Like I'll do a bunch of reference comps and jump on other paintings and things like that. And so it's not like, design work's being done. It's just not necessarily in, a lot of it's being done before paint.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
take out any paint. I was thinking about that with Robin Ely. You haven't met Robin before, right? But you know his work.
Yeah, I know his work. Yeah, but I haven't met him.
Yeah, yeah. He's okay. No,
It's
Robin's
amazing.
like very good. Dude, he's doing this show Eley, by the way. Robin, like the bird. Eley. You just check him out on Instagram. He's doing this show with it's a collaboration with the set designer for Hamilton.
Oh, no kidding.
And he did apparently did also the I don't know if he did the Oscars or the Tonys or something like that. He did the set designs for. This is like, but like, he's another one with like the amount of work he puts into his reference. Like that's where his design is. Like he does these wrapped. So the Trump Lloyd pieces is his new series of wrapped famous paintings. So imagine like Edvard Munch's Scream wrapped in
Yeah.
bubble wrap.
Oh, yeah. Cool, cool.
And or like I think it's like he might have had the Wreck of the Medusa. I think he did the Mona Lisa. He did a Vermeer, like the pouring. It's like a woman pouring, ceramic pot or something like that, like
Yeah, yeah.
water or something like that.
I remember that one, yeah.
And they're done at the same size as the original.
Oh, wow. Dude, I got to check
See, that's
these.
the thing. Yeah, so
I
he's got
think
a
I
show
might
in
have
New York
seen
City
these.
in
They're
September.
amazing.
Yeah, they're nuts. Um, yeah, I mean, so that's but like all the stuff he was saying that he deflates. He goes to every single, like he's manipulating every single bubble
Wow.
with the bubble wrap. Like he's deflating some, reinflating others.
Oh, how do you
Okay,
do that? Does he got like a little syringe?
I don't know. That's what he had said it in an Instagram story. I'm like, but if it's Robin, like he figured out the system. He's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
he's all in. It's so inspiring. But that's design. That's intent right there. Like the swing of like everything is set up. But he's doing a lot of that in this, his setup. Um, yeah, it's all good, man. It's so much fun to talk about that stuff. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm
Let me
just
get back
checking the
to
chat, see if
here.
there's questions.
Nedfest said, Schmidt said, referring to Richard Schmidt, said that umber shouldn't be used as they crack so easily.
That's
I gotta
that's
read
a
that.
whole can of worms on I mean,
Yeah, that's all
I know
can of
that's
worms.
true
Yeah.
because it dries so fast, but
But
that's
it
a whole
depends on
like
what support. What's your support? What are you
yeah.
painting over it? Um,
Do you care if
what
it's
me-
going to crack?
well, no,
The,
but what medium that you're using? Like, what are you thinning it down with? Because Schmidt he uses mineral spirits when he's establishing his paintings to thin them down,
yeah.
and there are a lot of people that feel that like that will crack immediately. Like you're weakening the paint film so much that like you're gonna crack it. You're gonna crack those paintings. Like they're not gonna last the test of time. There's so many things you could do to mitigate it. Burn umber is a really solidly. It's a pretty light, fast color. Been around for a while. It all depends on how you use it, of course. There are a lot of, you know, paintings, that have been done in that have stood the test of time. It's just a matter of kind of how you set it up. Also, I'm painting in acrylics, completely different chemical composure from, oil paints and stuff. But I have used umbers, especially when you mix them too. Alizarin crimson is the same thing. Like people say it's fugitive, which it is, but if it could be stabilized when you mix it with another color.
Right. On its own, it's like super
Yeah.
fugitive.
So it's so that's the problem with that type of advice. It's like, yeah, but it depends on how deep. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
Well,
So
and
that, and
it's
that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, and it's like a huge question about. It's a whole different rabbit hole of our archivalness, you know. And I don't know. I want things to last for sure, but I'm like on the
Yeah.
Strusen side. It's like, yeah, did you destroy a brush to make this, and did it, whatever? You made a cool painting. Did it, like fall apart after a bunch of years? Yeah, but it was a cool painting. I don't know.
Yeah. It's all,
It's such a
you know,
distraction.
it's good. It's good to know. It's good to know though,
Yeah,
right?
for
It's
sure,
like,
for sure.
you don't want your stuff like, I mean, we've had, Tyler and I know it's a story I tell often. We know an artist that went to school with, and I'm not gonna name names, but they had a gallery in Laguna Beach or something like that when we were in school, and it was like huge. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And they were sending these incredible landscape paintings, uh, over to that gallery. It was huge, and the gallery apparently sent them back or called them like a couple of weeks later, saying that pieces of the painting were falling off the wall onto the floor.
Oh my god.
Right. And so you want to avoid that, and it had to do with the misuse of liquid and cold wax medium.
Mm.
Yeah, and it just cracked, and it separated. So you can if you learn how to avoid those things or painting, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into,
Yeah, and it's
just
like a
gauge for your stuff.
It's like, like with acrylic, obviously, you're not going to paint acrylic over oils. You want to remember all these mechanical aspects. And if you want to deep dive into how crazy archival you want to get with everything, like do it. I mean, that could be really fun. Like learning
Totally.
all the like really nitpicky stuff about, what your substrates should be and how,
Right.
like what order of, thickness you should put things on. Like all that stuff's really fun. Sometimes I got to
Don't
get a
get
painting done.
Yeah, and don't freak out when you get the answer. Like you like a conservator is going to tell you what is going to last the test of time. But they're not thinking about just painting technique. They're just like, okay, what combination would last the test of time? Like, they don't really know, but they have a fairly good idea of what could. And like, that it's like, don't paint on canvas that's stretched.
yeah, yeah.
Don't paint on wood. Don't paint on wood.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
What can I paint on? What am I allowed to paint on?
right. You got to paint on aluminum, something that's not gonna, or copper, something that's not gonna.
Might as well just make it like aircraft grade titanium that will
It.
never ever diminish in a billion
Yeah, but
years.
what about shipping? What about the size? It's like impossible. Doesn't matter. Do you want your painting to?
Yeah.
Like
What's the stablest atom we can paint on, and that will be
right.
the substrate for all
Right.
eternity.
Exactly. So just just take it with a grain of salt. So, and just double check information too, and just
Getting a little extra Foley here on my mic is my dog whining because it's dinner time
right
for her.
So Rye Forel, but Nedfest, thanks for sharing that. I'll go back and take a look at Alla Prima. Rye Forel said, yes, if you live for your light, color is accurate to life, but there's a lot of appealing to achieving that I'm starting to grasp. Thanks. A lot of that stuff too is like painting from life. A lot of it. This stuff is, I don't think it's possible to understand how light falls and how colors should look in shadows and things like that without studying nature and actually painting directly from your eyes, because it's a whole nother ball game, because you're seeing so much information. You have to understand how to edit it, and there's no better reference than nature, to be honest with you. It's the best type. It's like unlimited resolution.
Yeah, it's there all the time.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, people photograph it all the time too. So
Yeah.
there's just the Google Images is the largest amount of reference you'll ever find.
I think the thing with reference though, when you learn, when you've drawn or painted from life, you understand what to look for too. Because if
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
copying, like I've seen artwork that's like, oh, you just, you're really hanging on to dear life with that photograph, and you really want to do other things, but there's things you're not detecting or catching the shortcomings of the photograph itself. It's like, it looks kind of flat because like the shadows would have never been that dark. And so when I took a photograph of this, it was like the shadows were like dark, dark. Everything was the same value, you know, all of these things. And so like it doesn't care about local value at all. It's really the cameras can be really a bit of a trap if you're not careful.
Yeah, and there's a couple things going on too. The camera is a single lens. We see as, if we have two eyes that work, we see stereoscopically. So that, and one eye has slightly different color than the other eye. Test this out on
Yeah.
a white wall. Close one eye, close the other. You'll see one slightly greener, one slightly redder, relativistically. So that's a huge factor. The fact that things get flattened out stereoscopically. And then there's also what Ray just said, the exposure of a camera. There's a million settings there. Our eyes do the white balance a lot differently. They just, we can, when you're standing in front of something in painting from life, like Ray's talking about, your eye is adjusting a lot differently, and it's adjusting on the fly. So
Yeah,
there's
consistently.
just
It's not
consistently,
fixed.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it allows you to sort of like, hey, I'm going to add more value transition in the darks here. Whereas if I photograph this, the darks would probably all be completely flat or really, really dark, and the brights would be blown out. Like, you can adjust those things in person. So yeah, I
Right.
mean, I'm totally with Ray on, you start your studies of nature first in person, paint from life.
And also, you just know, like, see, from nature, you literally cannot copy all of the values and colors you see. It's impossible. There's no medium on the planet that can capture all of that. Like, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's just crazy. So, like, you have to edit and take an idea from, you have to kind of condense it and compress values and compress, that into something readable. Because you realize that what you're seeing is it's kind of like, you ever seen like the iPhone events or Samsung events, when they talk about a cell phone camera, and what, the image you get is like a composite of like a trillion images on top of
yeah.
it right.
And they're
So it's
using
basically what you're
AI for
seeing
that,
from the
right?
right. So like your eye is doing that. So it's like, constantly auto balance. You don't notice it. And so if you try and draw just with your eyes open, try and copy everything you're seeing, it's not going to translate on your surface, because you're just not going to understand why, and you're not going to understand why, but
I think
it's
that's like the
pretty interesting.
amazing aspect of the evolution of the eye and like how it interfaces with our brain. This, like, it's the best AI you're ever going to find. Like, the way we've
Totally.
evolved to interpret images on this planet is incredible. Like, we're super high contrast oriented, and it leads you to, I mean, there's some great like evolutionary mechanic books on vision, but it leads us to all kinds of weird things. We're like super high pattern recognition creatures. So those are things you can take advantage of when you're designing an image. All these cool little aspects of like optics and like what we see and how humans see. It's all really fascinating stuff. Check out. So, fun little rabbit holes to dive down.
It sounds really boring. Don't do it. Don't check it out.
Don't check it out, folks. You'll know too much.
All right. So I decided, I think I don't know if I said it off stream or on stream, but I told Tyler, I was like, I'm going to spend the whole 2 hours just lifting this thing out. I think I mentioned that. And
Yeah.
obviously I didn't. I
No,
did
you
end up
didn't.
painting.
And I said
Yeah.
I was going to spend the whole time just working on this background. And maybe, you know what, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna punk out like Ray's doing.
It's like I just need some paint on. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me
No, I
what's
was
up.
gonna say I'm really enjoying. I've been doing this a good amount this season, doing these underpaintings. They're fun. It's like a dead color layer. It's like, who cares about the color? The color's wrong anyway. Like if I were to paint this, a la Prima, just straight paint, wouldn't know if the color was right or not until I covered the whole thing, and then I would have to change it. And usually it's a value issue, and I'm like, well, why not just start with value then?
Yeah, this
And
is how I paint though. Most of the time, is digitally. It's like all value first.
yeah, but I mean, that being said, I mean, there's like reasons why you do that. Why you start with color, because you can get to the matter. If you're
Oh
careful
yeah,
enough, you can finish everything off. If you have if you set up the parameters correctly.
yeah, 100%. Like
And
it saves you a lot of time essentially.
yeah, yeah, and their effects only that are only achievable with wet and a wet color.
Yeah, yeah,
Even if I'm overpainting this with, like, I'm going to go back over this with color, and I know that there are things especially in oils that I'm going to do that aren't like I have to get that I can't achieve in this underpainting. Like it's just these sort of type of color transitions, but
this goes back to that mixing thing I was mentioning earlier. Like there's so many things that I have to learn how to achieve via actually painting with the paints. Like there's so many surprising things that'll happen when you mix two colors together.
yeah, yeah,
Like I always
yeah.
love using alizarin crimson and viridian.
Oh, it's a great black.
It's such a cool black, and you get like when you start adding white into it, you get these like insane purples. But then you can
Yeah,
also go over into like good reds and over into good greens. Like the I don't know, it's just a great combination. And I don't think you would stumble upon that as quickly if you're just working digitally. Because you're not getting the same mixing. You're just not getting it.
no, no, you're picking what you want.
Yeah, it's far more intentional.
Yeah, and you can mess around with it digitally for sure. Like it's like, well, I don't know what I want. I kind of want a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But in in physical mixing of paint, it's a little different. But who knows? It's like I wonder if that's the same like in sculpture too. It's got to be
What do you mean? Say that again.
like digitally sculpting versus like physical.
Yeah, I think it's very analogous, right? You're getting like you might not be getting the form that you want, and I think this is what I stumble with digital sculpting is it's set up with a camera, right? There's a camera there looking
Yeah.
at, and it's usually like close to human eye camera, which I think is like 50 millimeter or
50,
something.
55, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
55. So it's like giving you a rough approximation, but you get like so super thrown off. Sorry, this dogs are going crazy. Um, you get like super thrown off by if you turn that camera off or if you change the focal, like if you make it like an 80 millimeter or a 35 millimeter, which is like a film camera. So we're really used to
Yeah.
seeing things in 35 millimeter. So when you start shifting between that, you're like, oh, my forms are wonky and weird. What the heck's going on? So there's a lot of like extra distraction there that I don't know, that I always have trouble with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder, because I've been getting into VR, as you know, Tyler.
Yeah. Sorry about all the
Can we
barking
talk
here.
about
Wonder
that?
if I can mute
Oh,
myself while you
actually,
go.
I don't even hear it.
Oh, you don't? Okay. I don't know if the
No,
chat
it's not
does.
picking up. Chat muted you. Twitch came
Yeah,
out with a new button.
I've been muted for days.
You're like, can you imagine if we find fan edits with like of the Livebrush streams with like just one of us muted?
Yeah, you're like talking to yourself.
Yeah,
Oh,
it'd be incredible.
oh man. Anyways, what were you saying? What were you saying?
No, did I talk about the VR project that I'm? I can
You know
announce it
what?
now, which is cool.
I don't think you really did. You might have mentioned it a little bit, but I think you should definitely talk about it. Take some time.
Okay.
Talk about this.
Well,
This is
well, no,
cool stuff.
it's it's early days in it, but I'm a part of a VR project that is it's the easiest way to describe it is it's a metaverse project, but like it's basically like a museum. It's going to be a old community, but it's going to have theaters and all that stuff. But it's starting off as a museum of art, and so it's going to be in the museum is going to have living painters, and you are, and it's in beta right now, and you can actually see it. You can actually experience my paintings as if like it's like the closest thing to experience a painting in real life. So the paintings that you'll see in there are going to be my paintings. They're going to be to the same size as they would be in nature, like in real life. And so it's called WooBud, and it's a VR company that's co-founded by Mark Carter of Draw Mix Paint, with Geneva Fine Arts, the ones that we were talking about. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm using his paints right now.
Yeah. And Mark's co-founder is Paul Walsh, who's comes from AOL. Like he's old school, you know. He's done a bunch of stuff, and he's mostly now he's in cybersecurity. He runs a security company, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. And you can actually sign up for a tour if you go to. Well, I should put it in the chat where it is, but you'll need a Quest 2 headset. That's it.
Which is, for folks who don't know what the Quest 2 is, it's this incredibly cheap but incredibly high quality VR headset that that Meta or Facebook put out. And it's
more Oculus, right? I mean, it's really Oculus, right?
Yeah, but it's like whatever company
Yeah,
owns it. But it's super amazing because it's like $250 or something.
Yeah, they're up in the price
closer to
soon,
300. Yeah,
they're 300. It's $300, but they're gonna up it to like 400. But like the closest thing to it, so it's a standalone VR device. The closest thing to is the Valve Index.
yeah,
and that's $1,000, and you need a PC, like a crazy PC, to run games off of it.
Right. Yeah.
So like it's $1,000 plus a high-end PC, whereas like this is a standalone device that you can connect to your computer and use as almost like a Valve Index to a certain extent. You know, like it doesn't have like the crazy. The Valve Index, I think, has like little things like the individual fingers detection, right?
I think
like
so.
Can,
I mean, I know that Quest has a little bit of it, but it's just such
a little bit of it. It's like
such a cool device.
Yeah.
For what it is.
So, yeah. So it's. I mean, Tyler's been in the museum, and
I loved it.
It was he was as blown away as I was. I mean, we were in the beta. There's like and Mark will. I think the tours are free as far as I know. But Mark had a John Singer Sargent in there as part of like as one of the beta things, and we saw Sargent and a Rembrandt, and we were just looking at this thing as if it was actually in front of us.
Yeah,
like you could lean in and you could see the cracks on the paint, all the brush strokes and everything like that. And they have a room set up, for my stuff, and you can lean in. You can see all the brush strokes that I use. It's pretty amazing. I was pretty shocked.
I was too. It was super cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like seeing all those. It's like, 'cause I realized like people are never going to be able to see the majority of the people that may have seen my work really have never are not going to be able to see it in real life. in physical form, the vast majority. So what's the next best thing? And this thing is like it's unbelievable. Like I think this is the next best thing to it because I remember seeing when they set up the gallery of my work. I remember stepping in and thinking like, oh my god, because a lot of these pieces had been sold and stuff, so I hadn't seen them in a while, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're all here. I had this moment where I was like, oh, I'm revisiting these pieces.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was weird, you know.
Super cool way to like see a
Yeah.
portfolio too. I mean,
Oh my
it's
god,
so
yeah.
fantastic.
And it's everything's like realistic. It's not like it's bent on like photorealism, basically. Uh, So you had like it felt like we were in a room in the Met. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, with stained glass ceilings and good north light and all that stuff. And so,
And I think
um,
Mark has like tweeted sample images of what that space looks like. I think.
yeah, and he did a video on it on YouTube as well, introducing it, talking about kind of like the next big thing and um, what it means, for like things like social media, and how that's going to change, and it's really interesting. And these Oculus things, they're like, Mark put it great. He said, remember, we would have meetings and all this stuff about it. We'd play mini golf,
Yeah.
walkabout mini golf, which is a game that Tyler introduced me to when I first got the Quest, because I was just buying it. Truth be told, and I was just gonna like to have a meeting with Mark Carter because he had emailed me about it, and so I was like, I'm not keeping this thing. And then eventually I was like, this thing it's incredible. I
Dude,
have to
that
keep this thing.
mini golfing is so good.
It's so good. Yeah.
Like, yeah, if anyone in the chat gets a Quest 2, man, to get the mini golf game
Yeah.
it makes the whole device worth. Even if you just had that, if you only had the mini golf
Talk
game on
about
there,
mini golf.
like it would
well,
totally be worth it.
Mark had said, geez, I'm really getting derailed on this. I do apologize because
What else we
Mark
can
had
talk
said
about,
that.
dude?
Well, Mark had said that we're in the brick cell phone era of VR, and he's
Yeah, for
totally
sure.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, in 5 years, you're not even going to recognize like, you know, those things. Like they're going to look ridiculous because they're going to be so small, And he's right, And he's talking to people who know, like who have knowledge about it. And he's introduced me to some of those, people in the community, and it's like, I mean, the things that are coming out, man. Oh my God.
Well, and there's so many
People don't even
technologies
remember.
that are 100% inevitable, and like electrification is inevitable. Like clean, like a solar stuff. That's all like inevitable because it's just about the technology catching up. The,
Right.
this like the what Mark talks about and like what what Ernie Klein talks about in Ready Player One is that you're going to be able to just pop on basically glasses, and you'll be in the VR space, and you won't be able to distinguish it from reality. That's just going to happen. There's no avoiding it.
Yeah. But like, can you imagine Livebrush in like in VR that's accessible?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It'd be great, man. It'd be great. It'd be great. We'd just be just people hanging out, And it really feels like, I mean, when you and I were playing, mini golf with Kate, it really felt like we were hanging out.
Yeah.
This feels like we're hanging out, but like the VR, I love Livebrush, by the way. Like I'm not saying anything
No, I
about
can
it.
tell you,
I'm just saying that
you don't enjoy it. I can read it in your voice.
it's like the worst wording ever, right? I love Livebrush, by the way. Right?
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. No offense, but no, but it really felt like I thought like this was the closest thing to us hanging out in real life. Like, but
Yeah.
then when I saw VR, like when we played golf, I was like, I'm with Tyler, like, and Kate, and I just saw Tyler, shank a ball off of like a castle. It's amazing. Like how did we get in Tyler's way? It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it's like having
Well,
people like you. Didn't you tell me that like you could tell it was me based off my mannerisms?
100%. Like that was what
You know,
the first thing we noticed is like when we got it like Kate got one through her work for something, and we got one, and we got her dad on there during the pandemic, and it was like, oh man, we're able to actually play with people. And because it's like your floating head and it's tracking your movements in your hand. Like when we got in there, like we got in there with Ray, it's like it was just like standing there in person with him. It was because
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
it tracks. It's funny that you can like whittle a person down to those little mannerisms, and
Yeah.
that's the person, and you know them just from like subtle movements.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it, yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And just, I don't know, not like there's going to be, I think there's a lot of, I mean, I had a bias against it, like where I was like, oh, it's like all felt was like dystopian. It's like the bad side about Ready Player One, like dystopian applications, like,
Right.
but there's a lot of good benefits to this,
I'm always
and
with
it's just
I'm
yeah,
I'm optimistic, man. I'm always on the Carl Sagan side of viewing those kinds of things. It's like, sure, it sounds dystopian, but it's also like a really amazing new thing, like a really cool
it,
that's going to change the human experience.
it will, it will. I mean, it will. I yeah, I'm in. I'm like, you know, at, at first I was indifferent, but as soon as I involved in this thing, it's like you were saying, inevitable. But like really hopeful. I mean, we had a meeting. We were talking to a really well known, like one of the ambassadors of VR, basically, Robert Scoble, who's like a really respected technologist, super smart dude, uh, and we were talking about how like he had said like he looked at in the space and he was like, being here makes me be hopeful for the future, like that there are people out there that want to add beauty to it, not like post-apocalyptic landscapes,
Right?
and it's
That I totally agree. I totally agree.
um, and it's just like a cool place to hang out, you know. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. They're gonna launch, they're yeah. So they launched sort of the beta. There's a lot of stuff that they're working on. We're working on now that of course, can't talk about, but there's a lot of things that they have planned, and it should be, you know, pretty cool. And I'll start sharing more and more stuff once that comes out, But it's unbelievable. I'll have to copy and paste that link in the chat.
I'm just glad you
That
brought up.
YouTube videos.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We'll get it in there.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought up that idea that we're always talking about Star Trek on here, but that idea of like seeing it as a hopeful future, because there's so much, like most of the media out there now is like, world's completely destroyed and the zombies everywhere, or the world's
yeah,
just ruined and it's a miserable gray place. And
yeah.
that's why our Star Trek always resonated so strong with me, because it's not that view of the future. It's like a really utopian, optimistic view of the future, that we succeed as a species and we do really well and everything's amazing out there. And that's like, to hear the sorry, I forgot the gentleman's name that you just mentioned.
Yeah, Robert Scoble. Yeah,
Yeah, to hear Scoble say that, like, yeah, being in here is like, I'm really optimistic about what we can achieve and about what the
yeah,
future will be like. That's great. That's a mentality I always want to maintain. It's easy to get like stuck in like the doom and gloom of the future is always going to be a nightmare.
totally,
And that's not
totally,
a fun thing to
totally.
look forward to. A nightmare
No,
future.
it's not. But it's good to know that there are people that are actually trying to do the right thing in that space. It's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
it's
want to make a better place.
they're real. Yeah, they're for real. Like and Mark had said, he says, in the video he talks about it. Like, imagine you have a grandmother or a loved one who physically cannot be with you, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they can actually hang out with you and enjoy a sunset or enjoy a movie together. Like being like, that's way better of it, a more immersive and intimate of an experience than sitting on a Zoom call.
And they could
You
even
know,
play a game with you. Like even if they're not
or play a
physically
game.
able to, they could play like
Yeah,
as the technology progresses, like they could play some incredible game with you where you're like running
yeah,
around and through space or whatever, it's
yeah,
something
yeah.
fun.
So, but that's all I had to, you know. I yeah. So that was the that's what I've been working on and or been a part of, I should say, behind the scenes. It's been a lot of fun and really interesting, and I have a ton of respect for Mark Carter too. So he's
Yeah, he's a good
he's the
guy.
real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler, we played a round of golf with him. It was a lot of fun.
He's just
Uh,
a great dude. Like he's got a wealth of knowledge that's amazing, and he's super
yeah,
nice. And he's, it's I don't know. We like talking about weird techie stuff and what the future's going to be like, and he's like into
yeah,
that. He's really into that. He's
yeah.
got to he's got
I
to read
didn't
Ready
realize
Player One, dude. We got to get him into that. We got to give him that
he
book.
might have did he say he read did he read it or
No, he said he hadn't read it yet, but I mean, that's
oh
like
okay.
that's going to be that's just like he's playing into that exact space. We'll get him in there. We'll get him.
Right.
We'll send him a
Yeah.
copy.
I haven't read it.
Oh, dude, read it. Come on.
I don't know. Mark's pretty cool, and if he hasn't read it, then I don't need to read it.
Touche.
Yeah, it's like that cool kid that didn't do the paper. That's
Yeah.
cool. It's like, well, if he didn't do it, they didn't do it. I didn't do it. I don't need to do it.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. But the whole point of me bringing that up was because about sculpture. I tried VR sculpting. I didn't want to just randomly be like, oh, I was in Gravity Sketch the other day because I've never talked about VR on this stream. So like,
Oh, okay. So this was
you
a
know,
segue for you to get into
it
that.
really,
All right.
yeah. So like, I was like, this is like real sculpting. It's pretty close, because you could take you know, your sculptor and like just grab it in your hand and look at it from any angle
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want. It's like, not that you can't do that obviously in ZBrush or in Blender, but it's not like
The
there's a layer a layer in between, that point that words aren't
No, I think,
functioning.
dude, I think you can't. I think that's the thing. You can't do that in ZBrush because there's no stereoscopic view of it. You're looking at the
Right.
sculpture in
Right.
ZBrush flat. But
Right.
once you
Right.
get that stereoscopic view that you can get in Gravity Brush, that changes the whole perspective on what you just sculpted.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's dude, and like oh man, I was playing Half-Life Alex. Did you
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
yet?
No, not yet, not yet.
Dude,
I haven't got into my VR in a bit. I've just been
what's wrong with you, man?
I know, it's sitting right over behind me, just sitting there.
I played like maybe an hour or maybe an hour or two. That game where I left it off scared the hell out of me. And I keep
That's
saying, I know I'm not, and I don't get really like Half Life was scary when it was first out. Like I remember, like it was like whoa,
yeah.
like, and it felt like that, but like even more so. Like I'm like that thing ain't coming through that door, right? It's like it can't fit through. The door is locked. The door is locked.
This is a huge problem for me. It's twofold, right? I don't want to play a game that's scary. Number one,
Yeah.
like number one, because I'll play a regular game that's scary, but a VR game that's scary, that's just next. That's just almost like unnecessary.
It's not
Like
like
I
jump
can't
scary.
escape it. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. Well, the
You
other thing I
know,
have that we've talked about a little bit is I can't. And this has got to be something that they're going to have to solve. I don't know how they're going to solve it. Maybe there's a technology solve. But I don't get motion sick on anything on Earth, but I will get motion sick in the VR headset.
oh yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah,
Um,
and I know a lot of people get sick in there too.
yeah. Half-Life Alex actually gives you the option of either being able to walk around or jump like Walkabout Mini Golf.
Yeah, and that can. that definitely diminishes the effect for me. Like if I can
Yeah,
beam around like in the mini golf, I feel a lot
yeah,
better.
you
It's
can.
the walking
You
that
100% can.
messes me
Yeah, the
up.
walking. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I get motion sick on on roller coasters and that spin around and stuff, but very little motion sickness on VR. Only if I'm not moving physically, but where what I'm doing is like if I'm traveling, like if I'm flying around, then that's when I get motion sickness. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like if I'm
yeah,
standing still, but I'm still flying around, that's I have to like focus on a fixed position because if I start looking around like woo, like then I'll just I'll start getting sick.
yeah. It's something they'll have to solve, I think, eventually. As I know that it's a huge issue in the industry as the tech exists. That a lot of games make people sick.
But the tech that's coming out, man, like we saw that. I don't mean for those who are watching. I mean,
It's a VR podcast now. Well, it's not even a
no, it's not a
podcast, but
VR.
we'll cut out the video feed in
No,
the
we're not
edit,
gonna do
and it'll
that.
be a podcast from there on out.
I don't want it to. We're still cool. I don't know. I just feel like there's like a lot of bad connotations when I say VR.
I don't think so.
When
I
I
think
say,
VR is super cool. Well, at least from my
I know,
perspective,
dude.
I think it's
I
cool.
know. All right. Well,
I
that's all I
think
care about then.
3D movies suck and are a fad and should go away forever.
Lord Dornable asked if we played Resident Evil 7 in VR. No. I've seen people. I've seen videos of people playing that.
No, yeah, I haven't played it.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'll be too
No, I'm
scared.
not. I'm
Be way
out.
too scared.
I'm out. Nope. Nope. No. No. I can't. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, 7 was in the house, right? The all busted up haunted
That
house.
was that busted up house.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, just
That was
playing
like
just playing that
watching it was
regular was
scary.
terrifying.
Yeah.
No
That's
way.
just. Well,
Yeah, I'm out too.
dude, do you remember playing the original Resident Evil? Did you play the original Resident Evil?
No, no.
Oh
I
my
didn't.
god, man,
It was
that
like
was
PlayStation, right?
freaking. Yeah, I couldn't play that at night.
Yeah, I never had
A friend of
PlayStation.
mine's have it. What'd you have?
I was a Nintendo kid, and then Xbox. I never had PlayStations. I have one now, and it's
Mm.
the only system that I want. Like I, I don't. I'm not an Xbox dude anymore, but I used to be.
It says a lot.
Oh,
It was
great!
just
Here
like
we go. This is just. What are you, Sega Genesis?
no. I had a Super Nintendo. I was a bit huge. I'm still a huge Nintendo
Yeah,
fan.
I buy Nintendo systems
I had a
just for Zelda
GameCube.
games.
My brother had a game. My brother had a GameCube.
Yeah, I love the GameCube was good, man. It was underrated.
It was
Had
great.
some
It
good
was
stuff.
the best.
I mean, I don't know if it was
Super
better than
Mario.
the 64, but it was pretty good.
No, but 64 is not as highly regarded as I thought it was.
Really,
I
that's
think it's one of
weird,
my
man.
favorite systems of all time. That was a
GoldenEye,
magical time.
Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart. I mean, holy crap, it's a good system.
Yeah, that was yeah. Gosh, so good, dude. Did you play Turok?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That was a good one.
Dude, I would get motion sickness on that because sometimes it would go down to 15 frames a second.
Oh yeah, I had a friend who got
Like it
motion
was
sick on Donkey Kong, and
country.
yeah, Donkey Kong Country would make him motion sick.
Oh, that was one of the best games. Oh God, I love that game. Um, I bought the remastered editions of Turok, and actually, I got it. No, I bought Turok 2, but I got it for on Steam. But I got it for as part of my Amazon games,
Oh, nice.
the Prime game. So if you have an Amazon account, I mean, it's 2022. You should probably most people understand know that like you actually have a free. You could actually have a free. It comes with a free sub on Twitch and also gaming things like free games every month. It's pretty cool. So Turok and Turok 1 were on there. Plus Forsaken. Did you ever play Forsaken?
No, no, is that good?
Dude, you weren't. You had no business owning a 64.
No, I had GoldenEye, Mario, Ocarina of Time, and Mario Kart. That's all we had. And GoldenEye it was just my brother
So the
kicking
games,
our asses all day long.
the games that you were like, dude, these are legendary games. You basically
They're
just
the ones I owned.
named your library.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. And it was GoldenEye was like all we played, and my brother had all the maps memorized, and so he would
Dude,
just
yeah.
he would kill us, we would spawn in, and then he would just like lob a grenade in that direction, and then we would die again, and
Oh God.
it became unfun, like very fast.
You play it with like 4 players on a gigantic screen.
Yeah, and then everyone's screening each other. They're all like
Of
watching
course.
where you
Which
are.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh, dude, it was like outlawed in
Because that.
when we got Halo in undergrad. We had like,
Oh really?
yeah, you weren't allowed to screen. We would set up
That.
ways to block the screen so that you couldn't screen.
What? How is that even possible?
Well, because you could play 4 player, but I've even seen people. We kind of did a mock version of it, but like I've seen people like where you have like a whole bunch of cardboard pieces that divide the screen out so that you can't look down or up,
Oh
and you can
my
only look
God.
at your little screen. So we'd made like versions of that, or we would LAN it so that everyone had their
You
own
couldn't.
screen so that you couldn't screen.
Right.
Yeah, man, we were hardcore about it. We were like no screening, or like we wouldn't even have that. We'd just have the one screen, and we'd be like, "Don't you look down? Don't you look down?"
God. Oh my God. That's so funny. Arcbay knows what I'm talking about. Okay, here's a real Nintendo 64 owner.
All right,
Banjo Kazooie, Jet Force Gemini, WCW versus NWO. Perfect
great,
art.
great,
You
showing
know?
me up.
Super Mario 64, Majora's Mask. I mean, come on.
Majora's Mask was
SSB.
phenomenal. Yeah,
What was that? What was SSB? Why am I blanking on that?
Monterey.
Lord Adorable asked if your brother played Odd Job. Probably.
No,
That's a
no.
lie.
We
Huh?
actually we outlawed
Outlawed
Oddjob and
course.
Jaws. It
Of course. Of course.
was like you had to play all the people that were the same regular height.
That's funny.
But don't get me wrong. Once you realize like the advantage of Oddjob,
Oh
dude,
my God.
he
Super
played
Smash
Oddjob.
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
Smash
you have
Bros.
Super Smash Brothers?
Yeah, we had that one. That was a good one.
Oh man. I remember getting that game based off of like I saw an advertisement on Christmas, and my brother was like, "I should think about getting that. What do you think about getting that game?" I said, "This sounds cool. The premise sounds cool." I had no idea. I subscribed to like GamePro magazine and all that stuff, and I didn't really hear much about it.
Your Nintendo Power. Remember that?
No, not Nintendo Power. Not Nintendo Power. No, propaganda.
I know it was such propaganda.
So, but like to realize like what you were actually getting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That it was what was like what you were about to experience. Nobody realized like was a paradigm shift. Like it was the start of a completely different type of fighter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I didn't realize that at all at the time.
No, because
No.
nobody. I mean, it just came out of no. I felt like it just kind of came out of nowhere. You know. Yeah, I played Smash. Oh my God, the original Smash, so much.
Still good too. Like every time they bring out a new one, they're awesome.
Yeah. Well, so I used to play a lot of Tekken 2, and Tekken was like my thing.
Oh man.
Tekken 3, dude, I loved it, and I was, I thought I was like, I'm pretty good at this game, and I could take people. You know,
So you like the fight?
I'm
You
not
like
bad.
the fighters then, like Mortal Kombat
I used
and
to
Street
really
Fighters and
be,
stuff.
you know, Mortal Kombat and I had Mortal Kombat 2 on Super NES,
Yeah.
and I think Mortal Kombat 3. And then I didn't have another. That was the last Mortal Kombat I got.
Well, this
It kind of went downhill from there. But 4 was apparently really good. But I never bought it for PlayStation when they hit. But like that was why I wanted to get this one, because I was like,
okay.
when was the last time? It was like, if I'm gonna get a Mortal Kombat, this is the one I should get, because it got everyone,
This
including
just
my boy Spawn.
Spawn. This just brings me to what I think is arguably the greatest fighter of all times.
Okay.
Marvel versus Capcom 2.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the. Yeah, that's the.
I I
That's
gotta.
up there.
My
Yeah,
story with this
that's
is, I think I've talked about this on the stream before, but my story with this is that I got a Dreamcast from somebody when I was in undergrad, and the only game I got on it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And the Dreamcast was amazing. There was so many good games on
Oh, I
Dreamcast.
love it. Power Stone. You
The
play
the
Power
the Tony
Stone?
Hawk games on there were great, even though they were
Tony
on
Hawk was
PlayStation as
great.
well. Yeah, Power Stone. So all I had was that. I just had that, and we basically like glued it shut. It was the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 console.
Dude, I had no idea about like the consoles of because that was the best version of it, right? Because
Oh
the
yeah,
PlayStation 2 version was all messed up. There was something wrong with it, like
I think the
some
best.
limitation.
I think the honestly the best version was the arcade, but it was
Of
really good.
course,
It was really good on Dreamcast.
come on, Tyler. Of course, yeah, we know that. I mean, that was a given, right?
You got less
Like
tennis
Tekken 2.
elbow on the
Yeah,
Dreamcast.
yeah, seriously. That's funny that you say that because it was such a given in my head. But nowadays, there's like the best version is on the PC or something like that, or on the console because there are
Oh
no
sure.
arcades really. They
Yeah,
do make an arcade cabinet.
I found it. I did find Marvel vs. Capcom at this arcade that they have up here in Seattle. That's like an arcade bar.
The second one,
Yeah, two Marvel vs. Capcom
dude.
2, which I mean because it had like
That's
60
That's the only
characters.
way I played it.
Yeah,
That's the only way I played it was the arcade.
yeah. They had a box of it for a while, but you know how those
Yeah,
those boxes never last,
yeah.
and there's not a ton of
No.
people to service them.
Well, they're coming out with arcade one up. You ever seen those things? They're like mini arcade machines.
Yeah, yeah. And you
Dude,
can
they're,
do a lot of
they're, they're
modding on them to like make your own,
yeah.
put your own stuff in there.
They're doing Marvel versus Capcom too.
Oh my god, I'm getting it.
They're doing that. X-Men: Children of the Atom and Marvel Superheroes, which I owned on PlayStation. Man,
Marvel Superheroes was so good.
so much. And X-Men: Children of the Atom, I remember arcade machines. Oh my god. I thought that was the most incredible thing.
I don't know what studio. I mean, I guess it was Capcom, for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But the way they did, it was the first time I say that again. What's up?
No, I was gonna say I was just gonna have a smart ass comment. No, I think it was Activision.
It's Konami. Yeah. So
Konami.
I think
Or
it was the first time I had seen Wolverine because he's static in the comics, so you don't get
Right.
to see it. But they have him with his claws out, and he's flexing them like fingers. So like he's not folding them like fingers, but he's like individually moving them. Like if I have my hand up here, he's like moving them like this. And it's so cool. Like I was like, oh my god, I never even thought that he could like articulate them.
That's
And he's
like
just
the Japanese animator being like, I mean, I like Wolverine. Like,
Yeah.
let me try this. Like, do you think that like that would be like they would be watching that like a hawk in terms of whether or not it was on brand or not? Because
Right.
You never saw that. You never saw that ever since.
You never saw it again.
First step. Nope.
And
Nope.
and I guarantee that they were like, no, that's not on brand. Like when they tried to expand it out, they're like, that's not on brand. We
Yeah.
can't do it. It's like, why not? It's what he should be able to do. They're bones.
Yeah. Well, I bought Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Which
Yes.
is, the 3D version. Hey, it's pretty solid. Highly regarded.
Yeah.
So I have that. My brother had it, and
I'll admit
Yeah,
I
you
don't
guys
I
will
don't
do.
love the 3D ones. I'll admit I don't. I love the
know.
animation ones, but
dude, I want
That's-
the animation ones too, but you can't find them. You can't
yeah,
find them.
yeah.
Capcom wouldn't have to make games for 10 years if they came out with like they ported that thing to PC and just made it available. Oh my
Just-
god.
And go like
You kidding me?
expansions on it all day, right? Like just make it
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and just keep adding characters until there are thousands of characters.
It's funny. It's like that that modding community that adds characters. I forgot what they're called. It's like it takes the engine and you could like basically like pit like Ryu against Homer Simpson and
Oh man.
yeah, I forgot what it's called. It starts with an M. I don't know if anybody can. Yeah. But yeah, I digress.
I would totally do that just because I love that animation style. The first time I saw it was Street Fighter Alpha 2. I think they did an
Yeah.
alpha
Oh,
as
it's
well.
beautiful.
But is
They
that
did.
yeah,
They
that
did. I had
animation
that on
style.
Super Nintendo too, man. I love the art on that. I used to just. Did you ever used to just let the game turn the timer off and just let your favorite characters just stand there
Yep.
and just as they move? Like I just love the. Mugen. Thank you, Rono Arts. Mugen. Mugen. That's the
Mugen.
one with like people the engine and people like throwing everyone in the
Oh
in the
yeah, that's
fighting
it.
games.
That's it.
Yeah, Mugen. Yeah, uh,
Yeah,
it's like
I had a book.
Family Guy and
I would just watch the cycle on the character for sure, but I also had a it came with like a user manual that had all the characters drawn out
oh
by this
wow,
one particular Japanese artist, and I used to just sit
yeah,
there and copy it all day.
he's the oh my god, they did a documentary on him.
He was so
Uh,
good.
dude, he's definitely still around. I mean, he's such a beast. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
Yeah, but anyways, we got a 3-minute warning.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, let's
Dude,
squeeze in.
Arcvane,
Let's squeeze
Phantasy
in
Star,
something.
man. Hell yeah.
John, let's squeeze in something quick. John Carpenter's The Thing. What do you think? Good, bad?
One of the greatest movies of all time, man.
Yeah, easily.
Shout out to Eric Johnson for forcing me to sit down.
Oh shit!
and
I
watch that.
forgot. I forgot you hadn't seen it.
Do you remember
until-
that?
Yeah.
Dude, like we were talking, and we were like, "You've never seen The Thing?" I'm like, "No."
Right.
It's like, and you've never seen The Big Lebowski? I was like, "No." And then Eric made me go over to his place, and we watched both of them back to back.
So not only did your life change in that you learned so much about art in art school, but you actually got an education on some of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh my god, big time, huge education movies.
Had you seen?
Probably?
Had you seen Big
Rivals
Trouble
of
in Little
Time.
China before then?
Oh yeah, I had.
Okay.
I had that. I wore out my bootleg VHS on that thing, man.
Dude, I have this.
Like,
I mean, we only got like a minute left, but I have this like Omni edition of Big Trouble in Little China that comes with a 45 vinyl. That's the entire soundtrack. John Carpenter's entire soundtrack.
God, I gotta watch that again, man. That would be a fun game. I'm just gonna put that out. Third person game,
Oh yeah. Oh, it'd be a great game.
But what would be a great MMO like battle royale or whatever. I've always said this for years. Escape from New York.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be really good.
You know.
You
But
could
what
do
else?
like you could use like the Nemesis system in the Mordor, I forget the company. It's like the Lord of the Rings Mordor game, and you run around and
Oh.
like there's a Nemesis system for like how you kill the orcs. You could use that for Escape from New York. That'd be brilliant.
But that's
I
all
dig-
the time we have for today. That on that note.
On that
Dude,
note,
that's looking incredible, man. Are you done?
I'm gonna touch up a bit more. It's also like, oh man, it looks completely different on the stream, but whatever.
Okay.
Can't change that.
Okay. It looks beautiful.
Thanks,
It's
dude.
beautiful.
It's less subtle
So-
in reality. It's really subtle values in on the stream. But what are you gonna do, man? You keep charging forward?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna still. I'm working on other things in my studio, so I'm gonna just keep this up the way it is, and so I'll pick it up when we stream next week.
Awesome.
So yeah, so who have you been, sir?
I have been and always will be Tyler Jacobson, and you can catch me on my Instagram's at Tyler Jacobson Art, and my website's Tyler Jacobson Art. You can find me on those spaces. And who have you been, sir?
I have been and always will be. Maybe I don't know.
Hey, you never know.
Ray Bonilla. You can find my work at raymondbonilla.com and on Instagram at Ray Bonilla Painter. Also, if you check my Instagram, you'll see links to my Smart School mentorship, which is coming up. Enrollment, I think, closes at on the 28th, and there are only 6 remaining spots left. So if you're interested in working on color and light in oil paints and also in acrylics and but in opaque medium, yeah, consider signing up.
Get in
And
there.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live. Love the as always the chat. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks to Stephen Russell Black and all the artists that showed up. It's super cool of you. And yeah, and thank you very much to people if you're watching this on demand. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Consider leaving us a like and hit subscribe if you like what you see, and if you don't find us too annoying. But
They'd
or
be
if you do,
gone by
great.
now.
Yeah, we got right now. Yeah. So thank you, everyone, and yeah, I am looking forward to next week. I guess we'll see you next week, and happy painting.
Yeah, see everyone next week.
Take
Take
care.
care.